Hey guys, I hope you're all doing really well. Today I am finally sitting down to film the Project Panner tag. This is a tag video that was created by Sarah Rose about a month and a half ago, and although she did tag me in it and I have intended to film this video for quite some time, I don't know, I can't get my shit together enough. I have been kind of putting it off for a while, but I am so thankful to Sarah for tagging me in this video, and I'm really excited to share with you guys all of my answers. If you haven't checked out Sarah's channel yet, I highly recommend that you guys go over there and subscribe. She creates such a wide variety of beauty content, so no matter what kind of beauty YouTube consumer you are, I feel like there's something for you over on her channel. She is cruelty free, she's a project panner, and she is a really smart consumer as well. So definitely go and check her out if you haven't. And otherwise, let's just hop into all of my answers for the 10 questions. One more thing before we hop into the questions, actually. I created this eye look in a palette bingo, which will be my previous video to this one. Definitely go and check it out if you're interested in seeing how I created this look. You guys always ask for tutorials, so definitely go over there and see how I put this all together. But otherwise, we're actually gonna get into the questions now, okay? The first question is, how long have you been project panning? And I have been doing this for just over 3 years. I started my panning journey in March of 2017, so it's just been 3 years and a couple months now. So the second question is, why did you start project panning and what were you hoping to get out of it? For me personally, I had only really just recently heard about the entire concept of project panning, and it just caught my attention, and it made me so genuinely curious about how long it would take to use up products from my own collection. I had been in this phase of adding more and more and more to my collection because I was a beauty blogger before doing this. I had been blogging for a few years at that point, and so I was just constantly adding new makeup to my collection. And I had recently decided that I wanted to move towards a cruelty-free makeup collection, so I wanted to phase my non-cruelty-free products out, and I didn't want to feature them on my blog anymore, but this was a way that I could work my way through them. But it was just also the opposite end of the spectrum of always bringing in new things, always buying new things. And I wanted to see actually realistically if I could even use up what I had. I didn't want to stop purchasing makeup entirely, but it definitely helped to curb the desire to constantly bring new things into my collection. And there was many reasons for me to start project panning, but I think it was just mostly curiosity of what is this realm all about? Question number 3 is, how do you like to structure your project pans? Short seasonal projects, year-long rolling projects, or something else? Personally, I like a combination of both. I really like working on a year-long project where I have maybe 10 or more products. 10 is really that sweet spot for me though. 10 or so products that are more long haul products that I can focus in on for 12 full months, and maybe month to month I don't see a ton of progress on each of them, but when I look back after 6 months or after a year, I can really see a big difference in the product, or maybe it's totally used up by then. And then I also like to do, in combination with that, shorter seasonal project pans where they're about 4 to 6 months long. Anything shorter than that I feel is just too brief to make the kind of progress that I'd like to do in a project pan. And those usually feature something like 5 to 6 products, nothing too huge, nothing that is just a crazy unattainable goal, but things that I think are more realistic in shorter time frames and work for that specific season. Question number 4 is, what are your favorite ways to track your progress? Each panner does it totally differently for their own needs and their own style, but personally, I kind of do a little bit of everything. I like to mark my products, so if I have a bottle, I'll actually mark right on the product itself. But if it's something like a pencil, I will mark it in a notebook so that I can track from month to month how much I'm using. And if, with most of my products, other than maybe mascaras, which I don't really often pan mascaras, but things that you can see visually the change in the product, I like to take photographs. And recently, within the last year, I have moved towards also measuring the weight of all of my products. I recently bought a kitchen scale, and although I don't make a note of that in most of my updates, I always put that information up because it is something that's really interesting for me to look back and see how much I'm using of any given product, really. And so I kind of track literally every single way, I feel like. So I just like to know and be sure that I'm making progress, and so I keep myself accountable through weight, through measurements, and through photographs. Question number 5 is what products are easiest for you to pan? And number 1 for me that's easiest is lip gloss or like tinted lip balms. Not always and not exclusively by any means, but depending on the formula, I feel like I can fly through lip glosses pretty well. Not as of late, but when I am in more of my normal routine, I definitely can go through lip glosses pretty quickly. They're something super easy to just toss on in the middle of the day, throughout, like even just like at work without a mirror. They're the easiest thing for me. They're the most addicting lip product for me personally, and I just find that because you can reapply them with ease, I go through them very, very fast. Whereas other things, you don't tend to apply them more than once throughout the day, so progress is definitely slower going. I also am pretty quick at going through, I'd say, like setting sprays or like any sort of facial spray. I feel like those are products that I can go through pretty quickly, again, because you can use them multiple ways, but also multiple times a day to kind of touch up and refresh your makeup. So things that I reach for more than once a day, those are the easiest for me. And then on the reverse, the next question is what products are hardest for you to pan? And personally, the hardest thing, the most difficult thing, hands down for me to pan is blush. It is so difficult for me to make like noticeable progress on blushes because I'm not that heavy-handed when it comes to my blush application. I really don't like a lot of blush on my face. Today is definitely a little bit more heavy than what I generally go for, and I feel like this is still quite mild compared to some others. I just don't love a ton of blush on my complexion, so it does take me quite a while to hit pan on blushes, and you need so little, and I never reapply them throughout the day ever, so they are definitely the most challenging thing for me, hands down. Question number 7 is, are there any products that you rarely or never put into a project pan? And for me, until very recently, mascara was the one thing I would never put into a project pan because I know I'm gonna work my way through any black mascara. But recently I have been panning the 2 colored mascaras that I have. But alternatively, I don't think I would ever really put like a brown or a black mascara into a project pan. It's simply because these are more colorful mascaras and I want to remind myself to use them. That's why they are in projects right now. Otherwise, I think anything else is really fair game. Yeah, I'll use like eyeliners, lip liners, I'll use foundations and concealers and setting powders. Like I'll use basically anything else in a project pan when it comes to like makeup products. But mascara, like specifically black mascara, is the one thing I just don't really see a need to track my progress on because I know I'm gonna work my way through it no matter what. Question number 8 is, do you pan skincare or body care or strictly makeup? Well, for me, I don't think I've ever put a skincare or body care product into a project pan. However, I have put nail polish and hair care into project pans, and recently I have been kind of toying with the idea of doing a non-makeup project pan just so I can work my way through some skincare and body care kind of products that have been lingering, especially now that I'm at home most often. I feel like those are the kinds of things I could probably work my way through a little bit faster if I kind of concentrated myself on them, but that's not really ever something I have done in the past. It has generally been makeup for me, for sure. Question number 9 is, what is your number 1 advice for a successful project pan? And I'm not really gonna tell you guys what you should do in order to be a successful project panner because I think success is measured in so many different ways when it comes to panning. I know for me personally, I tend to set myself a goal of either hitting pan on something or finishing a product up or like reaching a certain point in a product, but realistically, I sometimes feel really successful even when I don't attain those goals because oftentimes for me, just getting to know a product and familiarizing myself with the product and maybe falling in love with something is a success in and of itself, or reaching for a product that hadn't been touched or used in my collection for a while and like making a point of it becoming a part of my routine. That is a success for me because if I own it and if it's a part of my collection and I haven't decided to declutter it yet, then it's important to get some use out of it and to reach for it and fall in love with it and give it value within my collection and give it use. So success for me isn't necessarily one of those goals of, yeah, finishing something or hitting pan on something. It really is just using what I own, and any progress is good progress because it means that the things that you have within your collection are being used and being loved and are not just being overlooked. So I think success can just be measured in such a wide variety of ways. It's all a matter of perspective, and I never feel discouraged or upset about not making like visual progress on my products, because I know as long as I'm making a concentrated effort, then that is success. And if I decide that something doesn't work for me, I'm not going to ever hate pan it. I'm not going to just hold on to it for the sake of making serious progress on it or trying to. So that definitely also aids in your success of your project, is having things that you actually do want to either familiarize yourself with or get to know or actually just reach for, and you actually will reach for as well. So definitely don't choose items that you hate. You're never going to want to pan them, and you're never going to feel that sense of accomplishment or success if you hate them. I know that was technically two pieces of advice kind of meshed into one, but that's how I really feel about project panning. My camera overheated right before I got into question number 10, so things might look a little bit different. My apologies for that, but let's just wrap up this tag video before it overheats again, because it overheats very frequently. Okay, number 10 is, has panning affected your makeup purchasing habits? If so, how? And most definitely it has. I don't think I was ever one to like over purchase makeup, but I definitely wanted to acquire a lot of makeup and try out a lot of new things. But now that I have been panning for a few years, I'm much more critical of how long and how feasible something is, like how long it's going to take for something to get used up in my collection, but also how feasible it is and like how realistic it is that I'm going to get use out of it. Whereas I used to like love to just buy like glitter liners or like fun colored liners or crazy bold lipsticks, and then I never really thought, am I gonna wear that maybe more than 1 or 2 times ever? Now I'm much more critical and more analytical and thinking like, how many different ways can I use that? Will I reach for it more often? And is it worth the money to add it to my collection? Especially with things like highlighters and blush, it's like, do I already have a tone that's similar to that in my collection? And have I used up any recently, or do I want to declutter any in order to bring this one in? I think I'm much more just critical of what comes into my collection. So definitely panning has heavily influenced my purchasing habits over the last 3 years in a positive way. It's definitely positively impacted the way I purchase and what I bring into my collection, and I'm really thankful for that. So that is actually everything for today's video. I tag any of you who want to do this if you haven't done it yet already. I know I'm so behind on this tag. I know I was probably the last person to do it because Sarah made this tag over a month ago, but yeah, if you want to give it a try and answer all the questions, I highly recommend that you go through them. It's a really fun, just like reflection kind of thing. I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing all of my answers. Let me know if you feel the same way about any of these sorts of things and how your panning journey has gone if you're a panner as well. But that is absolutely everything for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!